We continue discussing Robert Sapolsky's Determined. This is the third part of the interpretation. If the previous two parts were challenging for you, this lecture might make you quite upset. So, a word of caution. We are exploring the frontiers of human thought here, not advocating for immediate action. After watching this video, you'll return to your normal life, but humanity needs to envision different possibilities beyond normal life. Think about it. Until less than 200 years ago, everyone in the West, including the most brilliant scholars, staunchly believed in the existence of God. Then one day, Darwin published the theory of evolution, stating, "Look, I have evidence for this, and all living beings have gradually evolved, not created by God." It was a shocking intellectual upheaval for people at that time. If you believed everything was preordained by God, life was peaceful. Now that God doesn't arrange things for us anymore, using Nietzsche's words, God is dead, how should we live? Will this world still have justice and morality? Philosophers of that time pondered how human ethics should function under the assumption of no God. Fortunately, or unfortunately, now we face another intellectual shock of the no free will magnitude. People with free will bear moral responsibility. If God doesn't take responsibility, we do it ourselves. If someone does something bad, we condemn them. If someone does something good, we praise them. Your love for your partner is genuine because they prepared that loving breakfast for you out of their free will. If humans lack free will, all notions of love and hatred become problematic. Imagine you're an ethologist observing a group of monkeys in a zoo. The monkey group has a king, not only skilled in fighting but also decisive and fair in governance. The monkeys respect and even worship him. There's also a particularly weak monkey in the group, sneaky in its actions, sometimes stealing from others, leading to other monkeys attacking it. So, would you worship the monkey king? Certainly not. As an ethologist, you understand that each monkey's behavior is determined by biology. The monkey king is the king because of good genes, innate strength, and a dominant mother. You wouldn't hate the thief either. You know it's naturally weaker, subjected to bullying from the monkey group since childhood, with no choice. You don't favor the king nor punish the thief, unless they engage in particularly dangerous activities, like poisoning other monkeys, where you intervene for the zoo's benefit, but that's it. In your eyes, both the monkey king and the thief are just monkeys, no fundamental difference. If we accept no free will, we should have the same attitude towards humans. Lao Tzu said, "Heaven and earth are not kind, they treat all things as straw dogs." What if humans are just straw dogs? Believing in free will, like believing in ghosts and gods, is a dualism of mind and matter. Matter is just a pile of atoms, your love and hatred are directed at the spirit of a person. But what if humans are just material? One significant progress in human civilization over the past 2 centuries is understanding some mental attributes as material properties. An example Sapolsky particularly likes is epilepsy. Epilepsy is a central nervous system disorder. During seizures, a person may collapse, foam at the mouth, and lose consciousness. Epileptic individuals can pose a danger to others. In ancient times, Europeans commonly believed epilepsy was possession by spirits. People thought the soul of the person having a seizure was contaminated, leading to persecution, torture, and even death. Most victims were women. It took over 200 years for society to realize that epilepsy, like the common cold, is just a physiological ailment. In 1808, a person who killed someone during an epileptic seizure was acquitted. It was the dawn of modernity. Soldiers scared by war aren't inherently cowardly. Children with reading disabilities aren't lazy or indifferent to learning, and people with different sexual orientations aren't monsters. Progress in our society lies in accepting others' physiological attributes without attaching moral judgment. Of course, epilepsy is still dangerous, so we wouldn't let an epileptic person become a bus driver. But restricting their activities is to prevent danger, not to punish them. Since humans lack free will, what's the essential difference between epilepsy and other disorders? Why do we insist on punishing murderers and thieves? We need to reconsider punishment. If punishment is only to deter crime and prevent harm to others, we can treat criminals like contagious disease patients. Isolate them, and there's no need to make them suffer. Because punishment also serves a hidden purpose. Giving the general public a sense of justice satisfaction. Punishment is for not killing is not enough to calm public anger, and it's a relief for everyone. Sapolsky explains it this way. Humans are social animals, and for cooperation to be maintained, society must have a punishment mechanism. The most direct is second-party punishment, where the victim avenges the bully. However, this is often insufficient, because the victim is often too weak. So, as society develops, third-party punishment evolves, where a public organization, like the police, punishes the criminal. With third-party punishment, a higher level of social order can be maintained. The problem with third-party punishment is its high cost. Governments must invest a lot of resources in solving cases and pursuing fugitives, only to provide justice for a stranger. From a rational perspective, it's worthwhile in the long run because good social order generally benefits everyone. But long-term benefits are intangible, and in the specific case of Mr. Wang stealing 50 taels of silver from Aunt Zhang and injuring her, is it worth spending 50 taels to catch him? To address this issue, evolution has developed an immediate gratification. When we see a villain punished, justice being served, we immediately feel good. For this pleasure, we are willing to punish wrongdoers at any cost. Neurobiology confirms this mechanism. Retaliatory punishment activates the dopamine circuit related to rewards in the human brain. If a heinous criminal is punished, we are willing to pay to watch it live. This means that in a society not mature enough to curb crime through rational means, the pleasure of punishment serves as a mechanism for enforcing punishment. So, the question arises. If modern society can control crime through rational means, do we still need the pleasure of punishment? Throughout the evolutionary history of civilization, the pleasure of punishment has been gradually reduced. In the earliest times, punishing a wrongdoer involved the entire village teaming up to beat or kill them, providing an outlet for everyone. Then came the government, saying violence must be in their hands, they are responsible for punishment, and the common people can enjoy the show. Later on, punishment methods became more civilized, progressing from mutilation to beheading, to execution, to lethal injection. Also, in the later stages, the public was no longer allowed to watch. What's there to see? We'll notify you after the punishment is done, and you can derive pleasure from the abstract message, the criminal has faced justice. Even later, many countries abolished the death penalty. So, what's the next step in evolution? If we accept two conclusions. First, humans lack free will. Various criminal tendencies, like epilepsy, should be considered diseases. Second, the pleasure of punishing crimes is not necessary. Then the existing judicial model should change. From a punishment model to a quarantine model. Justice is not for punishment, but to maintain social health. The punishment model decides what to do with you based on what you did, your crimes. The quarantine model decides what to do with you based on what you might do in the future, your dangerousness. In extreme cases, even if someone has committed a heinous crime, as long as the system believes they are not dangerous and won't repeat it, like their condition has turned from positive to negative, they can be set free. You might say this is outrageous. Isn't this against human nature? Yes, but it's only against the human nature of deriving pleasure from punishing crimes, not against rationality. Criminologists and philosophers have seriously considered the quarantine model and admit three main issues. First, if a person hasn't committed a crime, can you just use biological knowledge to judge their danger and arrest them? The answer is yes, a preemptive measure, but not arresting them, but isolating them. For example, if the system determines that a high school student might be a school shooter, close monitoring is necessary, ensuring they can't access any weapons while addressing their physical and mental environment problems. For people with a particularly strong tendency for violence, it's like drug addicts being forced into rehabilitation, they should be confined to a place for treatment. Second, if the system believes that a person's disease, such as a violent tendency, is permanent, can they be locked up for life without having done anything? Strictly speaking, it should be called restriction. Attach a tracking ankle bracelet, ensuring they are always within the sight of law enforcement, is also an effective restriction. It doesn't necessarily mean imprisoning them. The third issue is more advanced and was raised by philosophers. Even if this person is a threat, isn't it unfair to limit their freedom just because of what they might do? Shouldn't there be some compensation? The answer is yes, compensation should be provided. If pedophiles are prohibited from appearing in schools and parks, they should be given vouchers for strip clubs. If someone has a severe tendency for violence, like drug addicts forced into rehab, restricting them to an isolated island, the island should be a 5-star resort with a private golf course. What's the concept here? The judge of the quarantine model would say to a person arrested for murder, "You killed someone, and our AI determines you have a severe violent tendency, so we have to confine you. This is not for punishment, it's just to prevent you from harming others again. You cannot leave this prison, sorry for the inconvenience. But don't worry, our prison ensures the best living service for you." You might ask, is this possible? Would Thomas Hobbes say this new model invented by intellectuals is fundamentally unworkable? Perhaps it's feasible in some countries. Like Norway. In 2011, Norwegian Anders Breivik killed 69 teenagers in a terrorist attack to promote his extreme right-wing ideology. How did the Norwegian government punish him? Not with the death penalty or life imprisonment. Norway's legal system doesn't have those options. Breivik was sentenced to the maximum of 21 years in prison. The single cell he lived in was a 3-room apartment with a computer, TV, treadmill, PlayStation game console, and even a kitchen, allowing him to participate in cooking competitions organized by the prison. During his sentence, Breivik was admitted to the University of Oslo, studying political science remotely. This isn't special treatment for a terrorist, it's the standard treatment in Norwegian prisons. Norway spends $90,000 per prisoner annually. Does this look like punishment? Indeed, it's not for punishment. Many Norwegians, including the victims' families, wrote letters to Breivik forgiving him, saying it wasn't his fault but society's. "We will work hard to make sure society doesn't reject you and you won't feel lonely like before." Is this fair? Would Norwegians start committing crimes to go to prison? No. Norway's murder rate is 1/8 of the United States, imprisonment rate 1/11, and recidivism rate 1/4. Because crime rates and recidivism are low, Norway doesn't need to spend much on regular security, ultimately saving money compared to the US. We can only say that Norway's prisons are truly places for treatment and salvation. Norway is a civilized country. I don't believe Norway's approach can be quickly popularized, not even in the United States. This discussing is just to let you understand a thought trend. Now you at least know that Norwegians are not doing this, because they're so wealthy they've gone mad. Perhaps they represent the direction of civilization's progress. Remember, this is just imagining a different possibility.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.